What is up, everybody? My name is Adam, otherwise known as Young NBA Analyst. Before this video starts, as I always say, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Young NBA Analyst and TikTok at Young NBA Analyst. I'm posting a lot of content on both of those. And today we're going to be going over my top 10 most underrated players in the NBA. Disclaimer, to be an underrated NBA player, you can still be like a star level player or like a role player. It's just about how people perceive you, and who I think are players who are very underrated. So with that being said, let's get into the video. And let's get into our list. Starting us off with some honorable mentions, I have Evan Fournier. He's a great shooting guard for the Orlando Magic. I think his impact kind of goes unnoticed. Same with Dylan Brooks. I think he's going to be a great asset to the Grizzlies in the future. Danilo Gallinari's a walking bucket. Same with TJ Warren. Richaun Holmes, also a very underrated player. Chris Boucher, it may not show up in the stat sheet, but when you're watching him, you can see he's very impactful in the court. Nikola Vucevic is probably the most underrated center. Well, he's arguably the most underrated center in the league. Same with Jonas Valanciunas. And we have Jalen Brunson, who's a very key role player for the Mavericks. And then finally, Lonzo Ball, who I think his impact is really going unnoticed with the Pelicans. I think he's more valuable than most people realize. That's our honorable mentions. And starting us off at number 10 on our list, we have Davis Bertans. I'm just going to say it. Davis Bertans is the best shooting big man in this league. But why he's a little bit low on this list is because that's pretty much all you can do. This man is a walking three-point bucket. I swear, it's crazy. Like, Davis Bertans, he's in the top range in three-pointers made, and three-point percentage, and three-pointers attempted. And it's weird because centers aren't normally like that, right? Or centers / power forwards. Big men aren't necessarily like that all the time. Oftentimes, the point guards who have those high three-point shooting numbers, and he's at the top of the league in this stuff. So it's actually really interesting to see that. And at number 9, I have Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon is one of those higher level players in the NBA. He's a great player for the Indiana Pacers. He's done really well with them this year. I think his impact kind of goes a little bit unnoticed. He's one of the elite playmakers in the NBA this year, and I think that needs to be recognized more. He's a great scorer, great all-around leader and facilitator, and I just think his impact needs to be noticed more. And at number 8, I have Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley may not have the best stats, but I'm telling you, Malik Beasley is this phenomenal player. He's incredible, and he's a very valuable player for the Timberwolves this year, even though the Timberwolves have been really sad this year. Not really their fault. Malik Beasley, still a great role player for that team. And at number 7 is Jonathan Isaac. This man probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year this year if he didn't get injured earlier on in the year, because this man is crazy. He's averaging 2.4 blocks this year, which is near the top of the NBA. And honestly, I can see a few Defensive Player of the Years coming in his way. He's very young. He still has a lot of room to grow, and I'm rooting for Jonathan Isaac. And at number 6, I have Donte Divencenzo. Again, a player who maybe his stats won't always show it, but he's a very valuable player on the court. He's 3rd in defensive rating this year in his 2nd year in the league. Let me repeat that. In his sophomore year, Donte Divencenzo is 3rd in defensive rating while being on the best defensive team in the NBA. That's unbelievable. There are many great things to come from Donte Divincenzo, especially on the defensive end. I see him as more of a 3-and-D type player, and I think he can turn into a valuable 3-and-D player for a great team, aka the Milwaukee Bucks. And then he's going to have a great future in the NBA. And at number 5, I have Jrue Holiday. Holiday is one of the best two-way players in the NBA right now. He's a very valuable player for the Pelicans. He's not really part of their young core because he's not very young. And he might get traded away, I'm not sure. But he would be a great asset to any team. He's a great playmaker and a great defender. I always find that there's always a correlation between playmaking and steals. I don't know what it is, but if you're good at playmaking, chances are you probably get steals. Quick side note. But anyways, back to this list. Jrue Holiday has to make the top 5. And I think a lot of people don't realize his impact on the teams that he plays for and I just think he needs more recognition. And at number 4, I have Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet is a player that goes very unnoticed as a very key role player for the Raptors. Not much to say about him. He's a very good playmaker. He's already a very smart player. He's surprisingly very clutch. He's great in clutch situations. We actually saw a snippet of that in last year's finals. This man can turn it up when it matters most, and that's what I absolutely love about him. And he's a great teammate. Him and Pascal Siakam work very well together, and I think he's got a very bright future with the Raptors. And at number 3, I have Kyle Lowry. Kind of a hot take here. I actually have Kyle Lowry as a top 5 point guard in the NBA. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but don't judge me. Kyle Lowry is the reason I have him so high in terms of a point guard ranking is because his leadership is almost next to none. He is such a great leader. He makes everyone on his team just that much better. It brings him to a whole nother level. He's an excellent playmaker. And what I really like about him, he's kind of like just a bulldog on the court. He's willing to do whatever it takes to win. He's the one putting his body on the line, taking charges. He's the one getting in there physical, diving for loose balls and stuff like that. And it's really amazing to see because there's still a few different point guards like that, but I mean, to see someone who has that kind of grittiness while being a great leader for a team, while being one of the team's best scorers, while being an all-star, I mean, it's not the most common thing. And at number 2, we have Bojan Bogdanovic. Bojan Bogdanovic easily could have been number 1. Number 1 choice is very close between him and the number 1 choice. Bojan, he's a great offensive player. He's a great shooter and just a great all-around scorer. In last year's playoffs, when Oladipo got injured, he was keeping the Pacers, I guess he was keeping them competitive in their playoff series with the Celtics, and it was great to see, and I think he can be a great offensive leader and just that very valuable role player that any playoff team would like to have. But you may be thinking, well, with all this firepower on offense, what about his defense? His defense is actually, okay, well, I'm not going to say it's elite. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys, but it's actually very solid. He's a very solid defender, and I think the Jazz are very lucky to have him. And at our number 1 spot, the most underrated player in the NBA, Robert Covington. Robert Covington is my most underrated player in the NBA, and I'll tell you why right now. Robert Covington is, how do you put it, one of the best defenders in the NBA, probably like a top 5 defender in the NBA. Hot take. But the reason I have him so high is that I would pretty much feel comfortable with him guarding anyone in the NBA. Seriously, he has that type of talent. I'm not even joking here. Robert Covington would probably be able to guard anyone in the NBA. It's just his natural ability, and I think it's going to be a very key factor into whether or not the Houston Rockets' small ball strategy will work, because they may have a hard time defending centers like Nikola Jokic and Rudy Gobert down low, but, I mean, their offensive production can kind of compensate for that. I don't really think it's going to work personally. But, you know, if Robert Covington can definitely help out with that, then that'd be great. He's also a great three-point shooter, another one of those, like, 3-and-D type players. And I think Robert Covington needs more recognition. He does not get enough recognition. I think he'd be one of the most valuable assets on any playoff team you put him on. He can go in and lock up the other team's best guy. And, come on, every team needs a guy like that. With that being said, that'll wrap up today's video. So make sure you guys subscribe, turn on those post notifications so you don't miss any of my future videos. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this video. And that being said, always remember, clutchness forever.